Teenagers are building businesses with AI, while the only AI you know is ChatGPT. Teenagers are building businesses with AI, while the only AI you know is ChatGPT. Teenagers are building businesses with AI, while the only AI you know is ChatGPT. Teenagers are building businesses with AI, while the only AI you know is ChatGPT.
Right, so today we have discussed about, first topic is Samudrayan project. Samudrayan project, very important one, both from science and technology perspective. Also you have the economic resources on the ocean bottom, which is we are trying to explore maybe in the near future. Right now we do not have technology, so right now we are in which phase? Exploratory phase. Okay, we are trying to explore what are the major minerals we have on the ocean bottom, and later in the future we can use to fulfill our objective. So one of the major projects that government of India has launched is what we call as Samudrayan project. Okay, so first human deep mission project that we have here. And if we talk about this particular project, first of all, from prelims perspective, what are the points we have to keep in mind? Which ministry? If you have any flagship project, important project, generally question is asked in prelims examination that which ministry is involved there. So what is the correct answer? What is ministry? Ministry of Earth Sciences, right? So that is the first thing, Ministry of Earth Sciences. Now these are the features is what we have to keep in mind. This is what first man deep sea exploration already have discussed. Now see here interestingly, okay, for people who go to the space, what is the term that we use? Astronauts. And here we are, where we are trying to go? Inside water. Okay, so water is aqua. So the term here that is used for people who will be going in the Samudrayan is aquanaut. Okay, that is general term that we use. Now what is the target depth up to which we are trying to go? That is 6,000 meters, okay, which is very, very deep. If you understand, we have the ocean floor, something like ocean, this level, sea level, and the average depth of the ocean itself is how much? 6,000 meters. That means we are going where? Directly at the bottom of the ocean. Only place which is deeper than this is when you start to go inside which area? Trench areas. Okay. Otherwise, overall average depth of ocean is 6,000 meters. The budget is again simple, 4,077 crore of budget we have. Now the question comes that which organization is responsible for development of this Samudrayan? Right. So we have one already have discussed in tsunami, National Institute of Ocean Technology, and second is Ministry of Earth Sciences, and also we have supporting role being played by which government, which organization? ISRO. Okay, so that is what we can talk about the mission overview. Then coming to the name, what is the name we have given to this yarn or this vessel? it is called as, very important, Matsya. Okay, Matsyayan also it is called as, or Matsya it is called as 6000 submersible. Okay, this is not required. Overall operational specification we have to keep in mind. So it can sustain a pressure of almost up to what value? 600 bar. 600 bar means 1 bar is equal to, we have discussed in geography, pressure in which unit? Okay, so 1.013 ATM we can say. Okay, so 600 bar anyway, it is very high pressure. Almost we can understand in a simple way that basically how much pressure you experience on a daily basis around atmosphere. The pressure here will be 600 times higher than this, and that is why the vessels that you are developing there, it cannot be with any kind of defect and all that. It has to be foolproof, because if something happen at such a greater depth, there is no possibility of anyone surviving and all. So this we have seen earlier, and also the case of a submersible, that was private company called as Titan. Okay, Titan was taking tourists to look at the wreckage of Titanic. Okay, in the which ocean? In which ocean you have wreckage of Titanic ship?
Atlantic Ocean.
Atlantic Ocean. Okay, so that is where it used to take. So same thing happened. There were some structural defects, deformities, and the entire people, okay, entire team of the aquanauts, we can say, they died there. So that is why we are focused upon this. It can operate in very low temperature, -3°C. Capacities of how many crew? 3 crew. Okay, will take at 6000 meter depth. Normally it can operate for 12 hours, but in the emergency, if something, suppose that some kind of miscommunication happens, or due to certain regions they are not able to surface up, in that case it can even go to as high as 96 hours as such. So this is how we can understand the operational specification. Obviously, because it is taking aquanauts at such a great depth, you have life support system, you have proper acoustic communication. Acoustic communication is the term we have used when I talked about the tsunami warning system. Okay, that you have the bottom pressure recorder. It is sending signal to the floating buoys. By which signal? By which kind of medium? Acoustic waves, right? Safety equipments are there. Plus, most importantly, what is it made up of? Titanium pod as such. Okay, so in the case of Titan, that sink, okay, what else were used there? Carbon fibers. This is, many people believe, was one of the reasons why it was not able to sustain such a high pressure, because as compared to titanium pod, carbon fiber has structural deformities and also problems and all. So that is it. So that is the Matsya 6000. Then we have recent milestone again. We have welded the crew pod. Crew pod means where crew will sit when it is going down by electronic beam welding. That is the method we have used, which is going to be the first achievement at the national level. Okay, in India we have never tried this kind of beam welding for the submersible. Aquanaut type, again same thing. Acoustic communication, and recently we have tested this. Aquanauts have dived. Those people who will go in Matsya, they have completed their dive up to a depth of how much? 5000 meters by a French submersible. French submersible called as Nautilus. Okay, French submersible Nautilus. So this is some of the milestones. You can find this in the content anyway. Now, apart from this, if you look at the objective, why we are focused on having a submersible, why we are sending people at such a greater depth, why we are risking the life, there must be some reasons. So as we have discussed, one of the major reason behind is exploration of a mineral that is called as PMN, that is polymetallic nodules. Okay, polymetallic nodules is basically potato-sized rock structures that are scattered on the ocean bottom in millions and millions of numbers. And each of these rock structures have multiple minerals. What are the minerals? Manganese. Okay, then you have iron. Then we have what else? Cobalt and nickel. So all of these are which kind of minerals? Metallic minerals. Single or multiple? Multiples. That is what we are calling it. Polymetallic nodules. Okay, so rock like a structure with multiple minerals concentrated in a single rock. And that is why we are trying to assess, is there any mining potential, and then we can use it. Apart from that, also if we are able to go at such a greater depth, we know that we know more about space as compared to we know about deep ocean. Okay, because space we can explore easily, we can go easily, we have sent so many manned missions. But as far as the deep ocean is concerned, we have not been able to carry out what you can say, accurate scientific research in this area. Many part of the ocean, scientists believe still are unexplored and can give us new clues about the different forms of life that exist, right? So to understand marine diversity, to also understand how climate change is affecting the overall ocean and all that, plus geophysical mapping of the ocean, like ridges we have, trenches we have, right? So all these areas, sea mounts and all that. Plus we can also do research, because ocean water is salt water research, ocean thermal energy conversion and all that. Overall, apart from that, national strategy wise, it will also help in supporting what? Blue economy. Blue economy is what? Dependent economy that is getting its resources from which part of the ocean? Deep ocean, okay, we can say, rather than coastal areas. And thus it will also help us in developing self-reliance in such kind of areas, because till now I think only few countries are there who have been able to send what you can call as aquanauts at a greater depth in the ocean as such. So India is going to join a league of the few select nations if we are able to successfully complete this project. And now question is that where we are focused upon. So as you can see, this is Indian Ocean, and if you go in the central part of Indian Ocean, you have country that is called as Mauritius. So basically around Mauritius, the region is called as what? CIOB, that is Central Indian Ocean basis. Now for those of you who have studied oceanography, we have discussed that any place in the ocean that is lying beyond the exclusive economic zone, a country does not have an exclusive right, so they are granted right by an organization that is called as International Seabed Authority. So in this case, as India does not have any right over the mineral resources in this area, right, PMNs or whatever you have in this area, India cannot explore it, and that is why ISA has allocated this area to India. Earlier it was 1.5 lakh square kilometer, now it has been reduced to 75,000 square kilometer. That means though it does not lie in the exclusive zone of India, India does not have natural rights over the mineral resources here, but there is no other country here. Like for example, this area lies in the exclusive economic zone of which country? Mauritius. But Mauritius does not have the economic resources, neither does it have the scientific capacity, technical capacity, we can say, to explore these areas. So better it is that India will explore, and maybe in the later future, if we are able to extract and use these minerals, we can share this royalty with who? The Mauritius. So both countries can benefit from that. That is why IS allocates based on the merits of the cases. So in that 75,000 square kilometer, 18,000 square kilometer area has been mapped where mining will be this carried out in the near future as such. Again, depth we have discussed, 6,000 meters is the capping zone, the specific target zones like 18,000 square kilometer we have mapped here. So that is Central Indian Ocean Basin. Like you also have similar kind of regions in the Pacific Ocean. There you have the rights granted to which country? UK, US, China are involved there. In Atlantic Ocean also you have area where again you have the involvement of UK and Scandinavian countries. So in the case of Central Indian Ocean, the right has been granted to India by the International Seabed Authority as such, right? That is we have discussed till now how many countries are there which are in this particular club. US, China, Russia, France, Japan, and India will going to be the newest member as such. So that is about. The second topic is related to, again this is something you already have discussed in classes. What is typhoon? It is same as tropical cyclone or different? Same. Okay, we know that tropical cyclone is referred by term typhoon near the coastline of basically you can say Eastern Pacific Ocean, China, Japan, and other countries that we have in South China Sea. Similarly, in the North Atlantic, what is the term that we use? Hurricane. Okay. So, typhoon, hurricane, and also what you can say, tropical cyclone. There is no difference. It is simply differentiated on the basis of where are they originating, right? So, typhoon, the typhoon, as we have discussed, also tropical cyclone naming. Depending on each of the areas, you have countries that has to submit a list of names, and based on you have column-wise movement, you create a name for that. So Kajiki is the name of this particular cyclone. So you have to understand briefly from the UPSC perspective. So first of all, this cyclone, if you look at area-wise, where did it develop? This is a track that's showing somewhere here in the ocean. We have discussed tropical cyclone can only develop over which kind of surface? Ocean surface. They cannot develop over land surface. Temperate cyclone we have discussed, they can develop both over land surface as well as water surface. So that you can see it is a tropical cyclone, that is typhoon, and it is developing over the water surface. And then further you have the movement, and then it moved like this. And this is which country? Vietnam. And this is a part of China. It's called as Hainan. Okay, so tropical cyclone or typhoon, it has moved like this, from basically from here, and then you have movement toward the Vietnam. Vietnam was the country that was worst affected as far as this particular cyclone is concerned, and to some extent people are also affected in the Hainan region of China. So this is how we can track the cyclone. Now if you look at the formation, so when did it form? Again, date is not required from a UPSC perspective, but the region was around the Philippines. Okay, Philippines we have place called as which island? Luzon as such. And then we have discussed a typhoon of category 2. If you remember, I told you that in the case of India, whenever tropical cyclones develop, IMD classifies it on the basis of the wind speed. Okay, you have the depression, then you have deep depression, then you have the super cyclonic. This what you can say strongest one. What do you call it as? Super cyclonic storm. If velocity is more than 220 kilometers per hour. Similarly, for the typhoons, you use a scale. That is also the scale used for the hurricanes as well. Okay, the scale is called as what? Saffir-Simpson scale. So Saffir-Simpson scale, it classifies the cyclones means typhoons and hurricanes in 5 categories: category 1, category 2, category 3, category 4, category 5 as such. So out of this, which kind of category it was? Category 2. So we not have to look at that specification, we just have to focus on IMD's classification, but the scale keeps coming news every now and then. So question can be asked that what does Saffir-Simpson scale measures? So what does it measure? Intensity of tropical cyclone or intensity of typhoons, we can say, right? So that is thing. Landfall, what is the term? Landfall. What does it represents? We have discussed tropical cyclone develop over sea and it is moving over sea, and finally what will happen? It will reach a particular area on the land. So the first place where cyclone strikes over land, that reason what we call it? Landfall. So somewhere in the central part of Vietnam, we can say, okay, that Vietnam is like country longitudinally extended like this. Okay, so somewhere in the central part of Vietnam is where it made the landfall, and after it kept on moving slightly further inland and has also affected countries such as Vietnam. If you go further to the west of Vietnam, which countries you will find? Laos and Thailand. Now see, this area is in news, and this is, we can say, is India's neighborhood. Question can easily be asked about the mapping perspective, from mapping perspective. They also have asked earlier questions like arrange the capital cities of countries from Laos, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia. So whenever these area comes in news, make sure that refer to the atlas, look at the area, look at the countries, important geographical landmarks and all this. Again, this is not something not very important, but peak wind, as you can see, was how much? 175 kilometers per hour. So not super cyclone, but it was what? You can say second category, next fastest category of cyclone. Minimum pressure, again not important. Heavy rainfall was recorded in the Vietnam of almost 60 centimeters of rainfall as such. Okay. Now we already have discussed what conditions are required for tropical cyclone formation. 4 or 5 conditions are there. Okay, we have studied about this. So similar conditions were present where? In the Pacific Ocean. Okay, so warm sea surface temperature. At least how much temperature required for tropical cyclone development? More than 27 degrees Celsius. That was available. Also, we have discussed about the concept of wind shear. Wind shear, I told you, should be low. That means the direction of wind should be similar everywhere as you go up in the sky, and also velocity should not, speed basically, should not vary that much. So in that condition, you have the development of cyclone. So those conditions are available. Impact, again, obviously, what can be the impact of cyclone? First of all, damage results due to the strong winds. Okay, it can cause maximum damage, impact, damages to the house and homes we have seen here. Plus, also fatality is not that high, but 3 to 7 people have died, and evacuation, large scale evacuation you can see has been carried out, or more than 600,000 people have been evacuated from this particular area as such. Similarly, we have seen similar kind of impact on the Vietnam as well. But if you talk about the impact also can be seen on agriculture, for example. Agriculture. Why agriculture is impacted? Because we have discussed, we talk about the cyclones, okay, that is coming toward India. So when cyclone comes, first of all, it is a low pressure system, winds are very strong. So it's not only that the wind that comes or arrives at the land. What actually comes along with the wind? All the seawater, they are pushed, and this causes inundation. Inundation means flooding. Okay, so we can say in coastal area, Vietnam is known for production of rice because of the climatic conditions. So more than 28,000 hectares of land was fully flooded, and also here you have large number of livestock. Okay, for example, buffaloes are there in Vietnam. It is used for the agriculture purposes and all that. So major losses in the livestock also has been reported. Plus, obviously, what will happen if the entire area is cropped and suddenly it is flooded? You will have significant crop damage and all. So question like this can be asked, that what can be the possible effect of tropical cyclones, tornadoes or typhoons and all that. Everywhere, no matter wherever these weather phenomena or weather events are taking place, effect will be similar or different? Similar effect. Okay, so that is what we have to write here. These are just examples from the Vietnam in this case. Now what we can understand, apart from that in earlier times, for example, if you go to 1995, before you have 1993, we have been affected by, in India also we talked about, several super cyclones have formed in these times. This time, if you talk about the casualty figure was in hundreds, even in thousands. Now, such kind of super cyclone, whenever they are taking place, not only India but everywhere across the world, what we can see, the human casualty has been reduced significantly. Why human casualty has reduced significantly? Because we have focused, almost all countries around the world has focused on better disaster management as such. So because of this better disaster management, plus we have also advanced in science and technology. That means we now today have better possibility or higher possibility of predicting the cyclone tracks in accurate manner. And due to this reason, we can carry out what? Early evacuations. Okay, earlier, like in 1993, people get warning of cyclone just few minutes before, right, or few hours before. They do not have enough time to evacuate those areas. Today, we can say that cyclone will make a landfall in 8, 10, 12 hours from now. That is sufficient time for the entire people of the coastal areas to get evacuated, and that is how we are able to save the life of people here in India and other places. Airport closures, okay, plus you have the deployment of the troops and all that we have seen, plus flash flood and landslide warning also has been given here. So overall, we have to simply just keep in mind that disaster management response has become much more better as compared to 10, 20 years ago, and that is how we have reduced the human casualty from almost all kind of what you can call as natural disaster as such. Again, this is again some important fact that was taken here. Okay. Zone again you have to remember, do not have to remember exactly which place, but sometimes they ask question about important places, like the only place affected here from China was which region? Hainan. So they can ask, Hainan is island recently seen in news. It is located in which of the given sea or ocean? South China Sea, East China Sea, South Pacific Ocean, East Pacific Ocean. So that is how mapping based, from mapping perspective, we have to remember all this. So that is about this typhoon. Overall, last, if you have to take a key takeaway, what we can say? This cyclone has developed in which region? Late summer in which part? Northwestern Pacific. Okay. Transboundary disaster threat across entire Southeast Asia. You can see that because of the location of Southeast Asia, and countries are very small countries. Like for example, if talk about India, okay, in this case, if cyclone is striking India, there is very less possibility it will strike or affect Pakistan, because what do you have? Very greater distance between this part and this part. In case of Southeast Asia, what do you have? Countries are very close to each other. So that is why whenever we have cyclonic phenomena or typhoon-like phenomena, not one but several countries are affected at the same time. So Vietnam, if you look, it is very narrow country. Okay, it is like this. Okay, and then here we have Cambodia, here you have Laos, here you have Thailand. So all these countries get affected because of the transboundary this Southeast Asian map. Infrastructure early action, climate readiness, meteorology with governance structure, that has been the basis of disaster management everywhere. Okay, and that is how we can understand this. Okay, cyclones as such. Now after this, the next topic we have is induction of, this already we have discussed, I think before also, about the Indian naval vessel called as Udayagiri. Okay, I think few weeks back. Do you remember or forgot already? We have discussed or not? Udayagiri. Okay, I told you Udayagiri, it has been developed under which project? Project 17A. It was an example of Nilgiri class, a stealth frigate. So Udayagiri, and apart from that, one other ship we have called as Himgiri. Both Udayagiri and Himgiri, they have been inducted in the Indian Navy recently. So briefly about them we have discussed. Now the first thing is, what kind of ship are they? Stealth frigate. Which kind of frigate? A stealth frigate. So frigate basically you can say is a medium sized ship. Smaller than this also you have corvettes are there. Bigger than this also you have like aircraft carriers are there, right? And destroyers are there. So a stealth frigate means, what is stealth? That means these vessels cannot be easily tracked by enemy radars and all that, right? So it is designed to evade what? Detection. That means this ship might be moving through the enemy territory or nearby enemy territories, but their radars would not be able to easily track it. Why? Because we are constructing it using such kind of materials which can absorb the radio waves, right? How enemy is able to track your motion or track motion of aircraft or ships? They send radio waves. Radio waves are then reflected back, and this is then captured by radar, and they understand that this is your location as such. So if you are constructing ships by using such materials where most of radio waves are either absorbed or either scattered here by itself, it is not getting reflected. In that case, radar will not show location of the enemy as such. Now, that is how we try to ensure that the ships are developed in a stealth mode. Now, if you try to look at the key features, so same thing we have discussed. How are we able to ensure the stealth mode of the ship? So first of all, what we are using? Such material in construction which are able to not reflect but absorb the radio waves. Second, they have which kind of signature? Infrared. It's not only radio waves, because every system that you have, whether it is the aircrafts are there or whether you have ships, they are emitting some heat. This heat that is emitted also is tracked by the enemy systems, and then they can understand the location. So we ensure that the infrared signature, that is heat signature in simplest term we can say, it is relatively what? Low in nature. So heat emission will be less. That means we have to do proper insulation and all this. Okay, so that heat is not emitted as such. Third is also in the oceanic areas, enemy submarines are there. They have what? Sonars. So by sending sound waves also they are trying, by looking at the sound waves also they are trying to gauge the location of a particular ship. So propulsion system, if it is making lot of noise, lot of sound, what will happen? It will be easily received by the enemy stations and all that. So we ensure that propulsion system also is what? Very quiet in nature, so the sound is not emitted. The design of hull is also angled, because if you have angled design, rather than reflection, radio waves will be get what? It will getting diffracted, okay, reflected and all that. Then suppressed noise and heat emissions. These are the ways how we ensure that the frigate is made this. Frigate is having stealth properties. Now briefly look up at both of the ships. First is INS Udayagiri. Udayagiri, as we have discussed in this particular class, Nilgiri class, all of the ships we are referring by what name? Udayagiri. Hills. All of the ships are hills. So Udayagiri, Hilgiri, okay, Nilgiri that we have before. Built by which organization? Udayagiri is built by Mazgaon Dock, right? Mazgaon Dock. Project is same, but if you talk about the next ship, that is which one? Himgiri. Himgiri also is same class, designed by same bureau, but it is constructed and manufactured where? Kolkata. Okay, Mazgaon shipbuilders. So INS Udayagiri, Mazgaon shipbuilders is in which place? Mumbai. GRAC, that is Garden Research Shipbuilding, that is where? In Kolkata. So that is how questions can be framed in the prelims examination, that all the ships of Nilgiri class or under project 17A are being built at a single port, or are being built in Kolkata, or are being built in Kochi and all that. So that is how you have to remember the fact, not have to remember everything like this, but you have to understand what is the basic differences on unique point or important point from each of these classes. So commissioning again is 26th August 2025 is when we had the commissioning of both the ships. Again, stealth feature same for both. Either it is Udayagiri or whether it is Himgiri. Stealth feature will remain what? Same. Weapons also is what? Similar for both Udayagiri and Himgiri. So overall, if you try to understand, we have first of all supersonic missile. Supersonic cruise missile. What is supersonic? Faster than sound. Okay. So sound speed we refer as what? 1 Mach. So if it is less than 1 Mach, what do you call it? Less than subsonic. If it is nearby 1 Mach, what do you call it? Transonic. Okay. If it is less than 1 Mach, 1 Mach is what? Speed of sound. If it is less than 1 Mach, subsonic. If it is nearby 1 Mach, transonic. If it is greater than 1 Mach, supersonic. If it is even greater and it is higher than 5 Mach, what do you call it? Hypersonic. So hypersonic weapon development also is where India is currently working in. Apart from that, we have US, Russia. These countries have developed this capacity and all that. So that is how we define it. So BrahMos, we know that it is the name coming from Brahmaputra and Moscow River. It was jointly developed by Russia and India. So it is a supersonic cruise missile, that is surface to surface missile. Barak missile is surface to air missile, jointly developed by which country? Israel. Then we have anti-submarine these weapons like torpedoes, 76 mm. CIAS, that is close-in weapon system. Close-in weapon system. What it means? Suppose this is the ship. Okay, enemy has launched missile. So what will happen? When the enemy missile is at a greater distance, what you can use? Barak 8 missiles you can use, okay, or BrahMos missile you can use. But suppose that it has launched multiple missiles and some of them are able to penetrate through the outer air defense. That means now it is coming but very, very close. Or even you have fighter aircraft, suppose for example, they are flying very close to the ships. Then how will you engage them? For engaging them, when the target is very close, what we are using? CIAS, that is close-in weapon system. That is largely what? A gun that fires a shell of 30 mm plus 12.7 mm. This you can see, for example. Okay, so this is the example of close-in weapon system. Apart from that, lot of technical specifications are there. You do not have to worry about those. You have the sensors, lot of sensors, advanced and communication systems we have used in development of this particular ships. Again, same GRAC, developed by GRAC. Indigenous content is very important. For example, what is the most important significance of Project 17A? In the last classes also we have discussed. We have made a comparison between Project 17 and Project 17A. So Project 17A focuses upon what? very higher amount of indigenous content. Minimum content should be at least more than or equal to 75%. That means all the ships that are developed in this particular project are having 75% or more than indigenous content as such, right? And because we are developing most of these things are India, it has a further effect on economy of India, because if you are producing in India itself rather than importing entire ship from outside, okay, like we have discussed also in earlier classes about INS Tamal, for example, we have talked about. So this entire ship also is a frigate, but the entire ship we have imported from here, from Russia. So whatever job was generated, it was generated in Russia. In this case, what will happen? This job will go to the people of India itself, create employment opportunities. So 4,000 direct job, 10,000 indirect jobs have been created under the development of this project itself. And it will also help us in what? Having a Atmanirbhar Bharat, that is the long-term goal of government of India, and especially in the defense sector. We cannot be relying anymore on any other countries. We have to build our domestic capacity so that we are not dependent during the time of war and all that. So it is 100th and 101st designs, that is Navy's in-house bureau has done, that is including INS Udayagiri and INS Himgiri. Overall, it will strengthen India's blue water navy capacity, and largely this ships will be deployed where? In the Indian Ocean region as such, right? So that is. Now some mapping based fact, we have Eastern Naval Command. Overall in India, how many naval commands we have? Look at, we have generally 3 naval commands: Western Naval Command, Southern Naval Command, and Eastern Naval Command. So all the ships that Navy has, they are under each of these commands, or any of these commands we can say. The Western Naval Command, where is headquartered? Mumbai. Okay. Eastern Naval Command is headquartered at Kochi, and then we have Eastern Naval Command at Visakhapatnam. So these ships have been included under which naval command? Eastern Naval Command as such, and they will ensure security of India in the regions of Indian Ocean, that is where our major target is Bay of Bengal, and also to some extent in the Indo-Pacific Ocean as such. It also has been included as a part of CBG, that is Carrier Battle Group, which is INS Vikrant. Carrier means aircraft carrier we are talking about. So aircraft carrier is very, very large ships. It is basically a mobile military deployment, we can say, is going on through that area. So we have multiple helicopters, it has multiple aircraft, and then these frigates are there, destroyers are there, these ships are there. They are largely accompanying this carrier, okay, to ensure that they remain safe, because it is the costliest one and the most important ship, we can say, in the entire Navy. Today we have how many carriers? Aircraft carrier, 2 aircraft carrier. Okay, one we have developed indigenously, one we had imported from Russia. So INS Vikramadit from Russia, INS Vikrant we have developed indigenously in the Cochin shipyard. Okay, so Eastern Fleet, that is where integration is there. Okay, global maritime context, we know that this area keeps coming news every now and then. Because of what? Because of example, what do we have? In the recently Red Sea area, we have seen large scale attack by the Houthi rebels. Okay, so to ensure that there is a proper security provided in the sea lanes of communication, as 90% of India's trade flow through which line? Maritime lines. Okay, and that is why here the security becomes quite vital. Plus, China also is trying to build up its presence here. So that is how we can understand overall. Same thing is there overall, defense preparedness strategy modification. Then coming to the next topic, we have the Chief of Defense Staff, CDS. CDS is the highest ranking military official of India, we can say. So Chief of Defense Staff, highest ranking military official. This post first time was created in year 2019. Okay, so CDS, we did not have earlier have CDS like post. In the 2019 we created CDS like post on the recommendations of, you have actually, the initial recommendation came from the Kargil Review Committee. After the Kargil War, there was a committee, Kargil Review Committee, and after Kargil Review Committee, we had group of ministers, GOM. So Kargil Review Committee in 2000, and we have GOM in 2001. So both of these, GOM means group of ministers report. Okay. So group of ministers report. So based on Kargil Review Committee recommendation and group of ministers report, there was proposal to create a post of Chief of Defense Staff in India that will act as a single point contact between what? Military leadership and the government leadership. So what is the role of CDS? We know that we have 3 wings: Army, Air Force and Navy, and each of these have their own head, right? Now each of these can go and report to Prime Minister, talk with Prime Ministers. So to avoid this, what we have done, we have created a single post of Chief of Defense Staff. He will act as a single point of contact between Army leadership and the central leadership, and he will be the sole person responsible for advising and overall giving feedback about military preparedness and all about the government for the India's defense research. So he has recently released 3 joint doctrines for the armed forces. So basic introduction about this we have to understand. So these joint doctrines, first of all, same thing we have discussed. Okay, joint doctrine. Field Marshal, where do we have? Field Marshal is a ceremonial post that is given to India. Okay, Sam first Sam Manekshaw. Okay, he was awarded Field Marshal. That is not actual post which is used. Okay, that is in Pakistan now they have given to himself. What is the name of the guy? Asim Mulina. Okay, so he has awarded Field Marshal himself. In India, will not use that post anymore for this certain person. So CDS is the highest ranking official. Now, what is the 3 doctrine? First is doctrine for special forces operation, because we have again 3 wings. In army, you have the special forces. What are they called as? Para commandos. Okay. Similarly, in navy, you have special forces. What are they called as? Marcos, marine commandos. Marcos. Similarly, in air force, you have Garud commandos. So basically, this particular special forces doctrine ensured that in times of war or whenever it is required, there should be proper integration, and all these special forces should work in an integrated manner as such. So how to ensure that? We also have to carry out joint exercises every now and then, so they are able to understand how each of these forces are working, and in the time of war, will not have to spend a lot of time in understanding each of them, right? That is what the doctrine focuses upon. Okay, integration between the special forces of all the 3 wings, that is Para Commando from Army, Marcos from Navy, and Garud from the Air Force as such. Apart from that, the second doctrine focuses upon the airborne and heliborne operation. So airborne and heliborne operation, in few weeks before we have discussed that it is not only that Air Force which inducts aircrafts or helicopters and all. Okay, recently we have inducted which helicopter? What from US? Which helicopter? Apache. Apache was inducted in which wing of the army? Which wing of military? Not in the Air Force but in army as such. So overall, what we can say, Navy has its own, what you can say, helicopters and aircrafts. Army has its own helicopters, aircraft, and Air Force obviously they have their own aircraft and helicopter as such. So in times of war, there should also be a joint doctrine that explain how all of these 3 wings of the military will ensure cooperation in which area? Not only over land area but also in the airspace as such. So for that purpose also we have to carry out joint exercise and all that. Overall, we have to understand no matter which doctrine we are talking about, the focus was on a integration between tri-services, Army, Air Force and Navy, and also to ensure that there are repeated joint interaction, joint exercises conducted by this. Now the significance is that for the first time we have codified this doctrine, that we just will not do that randomly, but rather it will be done under a proper doctrine. And third is multi-domain operational doctrine. Multi-domain, again same thing. Okay, apart from 3 wings, you also add 2 other wings. So in multi-domain, the focus area is on army, integration between army, integration of army with Air Force, integration of Air Force with Navy, and then apart from that we have also operational domain, cyber security. Cyber domain we can say, cyber domain, and even to some extent civilian domain has been included here. That in times of war, how there should be integration among all these 5 domains, how all of these will work together, Army, Air Force, Navy, cyber security and civilians, and that is what the multi-domain operation doctrine talks about. Right, because even if you learn lesson from the recent war that we had with Pakistan, okay, a brief war, what we are seeing, rather than actual damage, okay, an actual attack, focus more was in media. All people are talking about, and you also have something that is referred today as which kind of operation? Psychological operation. So war is not only being fought today in the battlefield. War is also being fought where? On social media, okay, in the traditional media and all that. So war of perception, winning war of perception also becomes very critical in today's time as such. So that is something we have learned from the recent conflict, and that is why we have included, okay, that how we use media, how we ensure that India is able to spread the message. Okay, like for example, this time we actually have won, okay, we can say in the war, but we lost which kind of war? The perception war as such. Okay, so this is something that government is trying to again focus on. So 3 doctrines, okay. The key features, again same thing, network centric warfare. This is something that we are focusing upon, that we are not only dominating in the field, okay, we also should have domination in what sphere? Information sphere. That means countries should not be having any kind of doubt that whether India is villain or Pakistan is villain. Okay, so for that we have to focus on information warfare, psychological operations and all that. civil military synergy is required in that regard, and also we have to be prepared for cognitive warfare. Okay, same thing. Cognitive warfare means you are fighting not only with the physical assets but also the mind of enemy, playing with the mind of enemy. The strategic relevance is simple. Okay, out of most important threat that we have, or major threat that we have, major focus of India is, as far as its military preparedness is concerned, is on what? Countering two countries. It is China and Pakistan. These are two countries that are presenting persistent threats to India since independence. Okay, other countries we have some kind of disagreement and all that, but we do not have any kind of threat, at least on the unity, integrity and territorial integrity of India, we can say. So that is why one of the major focus of any changes that we do in the army strategy is to counter China and Pakistan. Also the threat of hybrid warfare looms large, discussed before, and we also want to ensure the strategic autonomy. These are the things that has been given in the recent military doctrine that is released by CDS. Okay. Now what is the way forward? Simple. Doctrines. See, earlier also, like I told you about Kargil Review Committee. When did it come? 1999-2000. That is when the Kargil happened. So that time also this person who was the head of this, called as K. Subramaniam, who was the father of the present foreign minister, okay, S. Jayanagara. He was the chairman of Kargil Review Committee. So he has stated that the biggest problem we have is the time we take for our army to mobilize. Right? For example, if Pakistan attacks in Kashmir today, what is the time we will take to mobilize our entire army to repel that attack? That time is much more higher as compared to any other country, major country you talk about. This is what we have to reduce. But again, we did not learn from this, and this was what we see again in year 2001. The actual deployment time when Pakistan or Pakistani terrorists attacked your this parliament, okay, that time India was ready to go to war with Pakistan. But why we did not go to war? Because it took a lot of time to mobilize army and send them in the Kashmir area. And by that time, Pakistan was able to use the international community to apply pressure on India as such. So Pakistan went to US applied pressure that do not go to war, avoid war and all these kind of things. And that is why we lost the opportunity of giving what we can call as befitting reply against the such kind of heinous attack against Indian soil as such. So that is what we have improved since then, and now we are focused upon further improving the deployment time, quick deployment time we have to focus upon here. So that is why this operationalization of doctrines can go and pave a long way here. Joint training simulation exercises we have discussed. Integration, more what we can do. DRDO is one of the major organizations also related in the field of defense. So we should also integrate DRDO. Private sector inclusion can also be done in the future as such. Plus we can also use AI, quantum and cyber warfare and all that to overall strengthen our strategic deterrence. Okay, so this is what we can write if question is asked, suppose, okay, in the way forward or futuristic purposes. The last topic we have is building a resilient cyber security framework. Okay, cyber security becomes very critical today because it is a very recent and emerging threat as compared to or as opposed to traditional threat, we can say. Traditional threats that we face in India are what? What are some of the traditional threats that threaten our security? You have terrorism, okay, you have the left-wing extremism or Naxalism, we can say. We have the insurgency in northeastern India, we have militancy, we have the enemy countries that are trying to find opportunity to attack India. So as opposed to this traditional threat, cyber security has emerged very recently and it is growing at a much more faster pace. Okay, that is what I am trying to say. The pace at which traditional threats have grown around India, cyber security has grown at a much more higher rate. Okay, cyber security threat, we can say, has grown at much higher rate today. And this I can give you numbers also. Like if you talk about year 2015, as per the government report, India has witnessed how many cyber incidents or cyber attack incidents? 50,000. 2015, only 50,000 cyber incidents or cyber attack in the entire year. You come to year 2024, that is last year. How many cyber incidents we have witnessed? 1.9 million. So you can see in just 9 to 10 years, it has increased from 50,000 to 1.9 million. Okay, so this is the kind of evolution we have seen in the sphere of cyber threat as such, and that is why we have now begun to take this very seriously, especially when it is threatening the critical this infrastructures of India and all that. So this is very important figure, you should know about this. This is as per figure of a central government agency called as CERT-IN, that is Computer Emergency Response Team India. You can write it. It is the major organization responsible for repelling cyber threat. Computer Emergency Response Team, CERT, India. So this organization has given this particular data. From 50,000 in 2015 to 1.9 million attacks or cyber incidents we have observed across the country. Yeah. So what we can say, if we are not able to build a resilient cyber security framework, can we expect this number to go up in the future? Okay, obviously. So that is why we have to ensure that situation does not go out of hand, and yeah, that is why we are focused upon there. So increase, same thing, because cyber threat is continuously increasing, and especially we have been vulnerable in what? Securing our critical infrastructure. Critical infrastructure means which is very, very vital and critical for country or economy as such. That means what we can say as critical infrastructure. Power or electricity. If suppose some hackers are able to gain access to the power grids and they're able to switch off the power, and they did in the case of Mumbai, you'll have a massive blackout all across the regions, and that will affect your entire what? Economy. Industries will not be able to function properly. Okay, and everything today is running on power. Second, critical infrastructure we can say is what? As government identify as telecommunication. Third critical infrastructure is which sector? Healthcare. Recently we have seen attack on AIMS. Okay, it was carried out by a Chinese group. It is believed to be behind it, called as APT. Okay, so they have been able to gain access and they have been able to actually install ransomware, and this thing will restore your access to your terminal servers only if you give a certain sums of money. Okay, so few $1,000,000 they had demanded there. So this basically is example of vulnerability that we have in our critical infrastructure such as power, telecom, healthcare and all that. And earlier these kind of incidents were very infrequent. Now they have become more frequent. Okay, that is why we have to have proper understanding. Plus even common man today is more vulnerable to cyber attacks. Why? Because of digital India. If you go back 10-15 years ago, we were not using digital media, cyber platforms to that extent as we are using today. Our entire life today, we can say 90% of our life, if you look at from morning to night, revolves around what? Use of one or other form of digital media as such. So that is why common people also, their security becomes important. Plus we have rising ransomware attack. Means simple ransom. What is ransom? When you are asking money for someone, okay, and ransomware means they install such kind of programs in your computer system that will completely cut off your access. You will not be able to access any records, you will not be able to use the systems and all that. And suppose if it is done over such sensitive institutions like hospitals, if you are not able to, or doctors are not able to retrieve and look at the patient data, you can understand how much problem it will cause to the common man and all. And that is why ransomwares are used in this area, which is time sensitive in nature. People and the organization that does not have that much time that they can think what to do, how to basically act against, they simply give the money to restore access, and that is what that was done in the case of AIMS also. Plus earlier you have individual hackers, some groups were there, non-state actors were there who were behind cyber attack. Today what we have seen in the case of India, even what do we have? State sponsored actors. Okay, like APT for example is believed to be backed by which country? China. Similarly you have Pakistan backed actors are there. So due to this, today they have much more greater power and effect on the overall cyber. So that is the background. So that is the thing. Now what are the problems we have? If you look briefly, again we'll discuss that in this internal security classes also. Cyber security we have to study in detail. But the major problem that government of India faces today is lack of skilled workforce. Okay, National Cyber Security Policy was launched in 2013, and they had stated that the goal of government will be to create a cyber warrior of 500,000 people. 500,000 people will be able to repel any kind of cyber attack against India. But actually almost how many years? 12 years has passed. Okay, you do not have even 100,000 cyber warriors with the government as such. So we have completely failed in skilling our workforce or providing the opportunity to work with India, work within India as such. Many of the bright minds who are in the area of cyberspace, working in the area of cyberspace, they have left India and are going and working for other Western countries, US, UK and all that. This is something that we have to focus upon. Plus IT infrastructure also is outdated. Data protection gaps are there. We do not have sufficient legislation and bills. There are a lot of gaps, lacunas are there in the bill, like IT Act, that is major act against which, through which we are able to secure the cyberspace. There is a lot of gaps there, it is really old and obsolete also. Cyber espionage is on the rise, plus also it becomes difficult to detect cyber attack, as a lot of these hackers, attackers are using which kind of wave? That is not visible to us, okay, something that we call as dark wave, right? So these are the problems and challenges that we have. Plus, if you look at what are the major policy and institutional framework, so this we have discussed. National Cyber Security Policy. This is the most important and comprehensive document right? The government of India has developed comprehensive document, we can say, to envision that what it want to do to protect cyberspace. Second, again, new strategy it has drafted. It has not still been enforced. It is still in the draft stage. Certain already have discussed. This is the major authority, main nodal authority organization that is responsible for three things. We'll discuss later. It is first, it has to take preventive action so that cyber attack does not occur. Second, if it is occurring, it has to repel the attack. And after learning from attack, it has to again adapt, okay, and build new systems and all. Plus, for protection of critical infrastructure such as powers, telecoms, healthcare, we have a separate and dedicated institution that is called as NCIIPC, National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center. And then recently we have been working on a pact largely for the common man, that is protecting the sensitivity or what you can call as secrecy of the data. So Data Protection Act 2023 and such. So these are some we can write in the policy institutional measures. I4C, India Cyber Crime Coordination Center, that also is it. Right. We have several institutions, we'll talk about them in detail in class. What is the objective, what is the goal? Technological measures also we can take here. Okay. AI driven threat detection. Okay. Then we have blockchain. Blockchain is very important because blockchain is also the basis on which what works? What do you call it? Cryptos. Okay. Cryptocurrency as such. So it ensures that data is not stored in only one system, okay, from where it can be erased or something it can be stolen. It is spread through multiple terminals, multiple computers and all that. That is where blockchain can also be used to improve our data security. Quantum cryptography, that is very much in future. Okay. Currently we do not have that much capacity or technology to use quantum cryptography, but it can be a game changer if we are able to use that in the computer system, because no one can then steal or what you can call as interfere with the data as such. Okay. We will be knowing about that. 5G network is growing in India, so we have to secure that also. Plus our infrastructure has to be safeguarded as well, where we are storing our data, and that is where the biggest problem lies, because most of the data that we are generating in India, they are stored where? Not in the server lying within Indian this territory, but somewhere outside of India, okay, like US, UK and all that. That is also one of the major concern here. Okay, way forward again, what we can write? We have national cyber security architecture, public-private partnership. We have to ensure what? Capacity building, and most important, we have to focus on skilling the workforce. Cyber warriors, you cannot just say in air that we want cyber warriors and someone will become cyber warrior. Government has to put properly what? On the place institutions who are training these people, who are motivating these people to come and join government's workforce and all that. So skilling, creating awareness, because many people today are becoming this victim of cyber crime as they lack awareness. Okay, you have heard about the cases that is very much on rise these days everywhere in major cities of India. The scam related to what? Digital arrest. Okay, where people do not even know that whether they are talking to a real police authority or whether it is a fake police person. Okay, recently this scammer even called police station, okay, in the fake police dress, okay, and try to scam the police person, okay, in Thrissur, I think in Kerala. So that is going on here. So that is also because of lack of awareness. People are losing crores and crores of money every day just because they do not know that such kind of scam is going on. So if you are able to create awareness by TV, by this what you can say, ads on YouTube and all that, what will happen? People will be more aware and the victimization will decrease. International cooperation required. Budapest Convention will discuss in class. Very important convention from the European Union that India should join. That is one of the what can I say? Your suggestion is there. Quad group. We have zero trust security mode is something that we can talk about. Zero trust security mode means do not give access to anyone without verification. Right? A computer cannot give access just because you are sitting in the Ministry of Home Affairs. They cannot understand that whether you are genuine person or whether you are fake person. Fake person means you have stolen the credentials and trying to steal some sensitive data. So no matter wherever you are, whoever you are, first your identification had to be verified. After that you will be granted access after trusting. Right? So that is zero trust. Second is, last we try to understand from examination perspective, what are the important topics. So again these three, because it is directly linked to your syllabus, directly it is mentioned in your syllabus. Typhoon we study in what? Both weather phenomena we have to study, typhoon, cyclones, disaster management we have to study in GS3. So question can be asked both from the conceptual part as well as mains based question. What are the reasons behind cyclone formation? What are the effects of cyclones? Right, and all these kind of things. Samudrayan again very important because directly in science and technology, plus resources that you have on the ocean bed, that is directly linked to the Samudrayan. So it has convergence with two subjects in GS, science and tech and geography. Cyber security again very important, directly it is mentioned in the internal security and challenges topic, basics of cyber security and how to basically address the gaps in cybersecurity. What are the steps taken by government and what is the current status that we have to study? These two are not that important, but you should keep these in mind because you can use the what I can say, facts from the INS Himgiri, Udayagiri and the CDS in writing and framing your answers in where? Mains examination. Okay, when you're writing answers related to defense field, what are the steps we have taken in the defense modernization and all that, there we can add. Okay, so that is the previous plan. That is all 5 topics we have to study in this particular.
Recording in progress.
Good afternoon, everyone. In last class, we have discussed the syllabus, है ना? And then we have started that since ancient times, there was a concept of city-state. And then in medieval, there was a concept of Roman Empire. Then modern nation-state system. Clear? Now, what is city-state? What is city-state? बताइए. Okay. Then city-state means small area. Small area of population. Here, Greek city-states were there. Greek city-state. That means here they are not going to say that I am a Greek citizen. है ना? Instead, they will say I am a citizen of Sparta. I am a citizen of Athens. Clear? So, city-state was a small area, and in this they used to control the small group of population. Small group of population. So, Rome was also one of the city-state. Rome was also one of the city-state, not in Greek, but different. It was a city-state. Gradually, Rome was developed. And they started expanding. Then they got the idea we should control all these areas. In this way, Roman Empire was formed. This one is clear to all of you? In this way, Roman Empire was formed. So, remember this thing. Roman Empire became too large, and because of this, disintegration was started. Clear? And the most important thing, the outcome of disintegration of Roman Empire was in modern times called as nation-state system. This one is clear to all of you? Now, when we say nation-state is the European concept. Because this gave the feeling of citizenship. This gave the feeling of predefined boundaries. Clear? And nation state gave the concept of centralized governance. This one is clear to all of you? Like, just try to understand. One day Bangalore decides that we have everything, IT sector, jobs also, everything. We have all the resources, and it is not necessary to depend on the central government. And they are going to create their own autonomous city. Then it will be considered as a city state. Same thought came in Singapore. This one is clear to all of you? When capitalism came in Singapore in modern times. This much is clear to all of you. And then Singapore became Singapore city. This much is clear to all of you. तो ये याद रखिएगा. So this is how nation. So initially city state concept was there, है ना? Small area, clear? Gradually one city state decided to control everyone. That was Roman Empire, and this empire became too large that Roman emperor was unable to handle that, है ना, area. In this scenario disintegration was started. On the other hand, the influence of church also created the dissatisfaction in the minds of progressive section of society. That resulted into the coming of nation state system. This much is clear, है ना? Remember yesterday we have discussed Protestant movement happened, है ना? So because of that nation state concept came. Clear? हाँ, तो लिख लीजिए सभी लोग, write down city state. Yes, that the thing I am going to dictate now, है ना? Write down first city state. So city state, you can just say it is a kind of startup politics, है ना? From where the political systems were started. लिख लीजिएगा city state. It can also be called as startup of politics. Startup of politics. Where it was started? Ancient Greece, है ना? So city state. So where? Just write down ancient Greece, like Sparta, Athens, Corinth, different cities. You can just mention ancient Greece, like Sparta, Athens, Corinth, 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 Corinth. So it was basically a small tiny unit. लिख लीजिएगा city state was a small tiny unit Online students, am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Now write down small tiny political unit where citizenship does not belong to a big area, but a small city state. So can we say that these city states were the early experiments of democracy, and these city states were democratic? You can write down, these were the early experiments of democracy, and oligarchy, oligarchy, and oligarchy. What is difference between democracy and oligarchy? Democracy means rule of many. It means rule of many. Oligarchy means rule of few. Like if you see Pakistan, in Pakistan, Sikh and Sindhis, these are two important people in society who used to control the political system of Pakistan. समझ में आ रहा है? Punjabi and Sindhis. So that means few people are ruling. That means in reality Pakistan is oligarchy. With respect to India, rule of all the caste, creed, everyone. So it will be considered as democracy. This much is clear to all of you. In China, only one party is ruling. That means few people, that is Communist Party. Again, China comes under oligarchy. Rule of few people. This much is clear to all of you. Rule of many, democracy. Clear? This much is clear to all of you. Then write down city state were having the concept of democracy, where corrupt people used to rule. अभी आपको आगे पता चलेगा why corrupt people. Yeah, corrupt people used to rule. This much is clear to all of you. Then gradually, if we talk about Greek society, what was the nature of Greek society? Greek society believes in inequality. It believes in inequality. That means Greek used to say that all people are not equal. Some are considered as masters and some slaves. So the society was based on which relation? Master and slave relation. This much is clear to all of you. That is why political science is considered as master science. Clear? That means slaves cannot become the political master. This much is clear to all of you. Clear? That is why political science is considered as master science. Now remember this thing. So here in Greek society you will see who cannot become master? Slaves. Apart from slaves, women. Then child and old people. They were exempted from political affairs. This much is clear to all of you. Aristotle said voting right should be given only to the adult class who are having property as well as some education. And women should confine within the four walls of the family, so they cannot become the master. Slaves cannot become the master. Then child is not going to have property. Clear? Old people did not have the capability to go into the war, so they also cannot become the master. That means those people can become the master who has the ability to contribute for the city state. Who can contribute for city state. This much is clear to all of you. That is why there were two types of people, master and slave. Another important thing, agriculture was the most important part. Agriculture was the most important part of Greek society. So it was the agrarian society. Clear? Draw this. Greek society was the agrarian society. So naturally they believed in inequality. Clear? That all people cannot equal. This much is clear to all of you. Now write down Greek society was mainly divided into two groups, that is master and slave. And it was agrarian society. This much is clear to all of you? है ना? Now, So city-state concept. Then first we will discuss nation-state. What is nation? First of all, which has 4 elements: define, territory, population, state, and sovereignty. This one is clear to all of you? State represents authority. So overall this concept was originated in Europe. So this nation state concept is the European concept. Draw this. Clear everyone? So right now nation state denotes the political formation. Nation state denotes political formation where nation is considered as unit of governance. Where nation is considered as unit of governance. Considered as unit of governance. Okay. Now, this word nation came from a word called as nasty. Nasty means race, because in Europe racism was there. German is a race, not a religion. Clear? Italian, race. Clear? So you'll see in Europe, so nation word came from nasty, which means race. This one is clear to all of you. Now nation can be of 2 types. Nation can be of 2 types. One political, another cultural. When we see US is the political nation. India, political nation. Clear? Culture, Pakistan, Israel, nation of Jews. Clear? Japan, cultural nation. This one is clear to all of you? Now, if you see nation, so with respect to cultural thing, Israel was born naturally. Clear? Because Jews wanted their land. है ना? It did not come in the background of hatred. है ना? They wanted their place since beginning itself. Japanese, their cultural nationalism is also natural. On the other hand, US and India, their nationalism also came naturally. है ना? Their nationalism also came naturally. Why? Because of exploitation under colonialism. Clear? So it was the natural feeling. But Pakistan was born in the hatred. Clear? It was born in the hatred. So whenever nation was born in the hatred, then it will become a failed state. This part is clear to all of you? Like how? Because the reason is, the moment Pakistan was created, In 1955, Pakistan, after the death of Jinnah, Pakistan came under the military rule. Clear? And the constitution of Pakistan was changed as Islamic Republic. This much is clear to all of you. And since then itself, the history of Pakistan is many a times Pakistan came under the military rule, and that is why in Pakistan, which institution is dominant? Military. Clear? Because here democratic institutions are weak. Before completion of their constitution, they gave their control to military. India understood this. Clear? Before the completion of their constitution, they gave their control to military. Clear? India understood this. That is why in 1947 war against Pakistan, Jawaharlal Nehru took the issue of Kashmir in United Nations rather than giving control to military. है ना? Because India's constitution was started or enforced on 26 January 1950. Before that, if Indian government would have given the control of India under the military to secure its border, then Indian army should be strong. This much is clear to all of you. Then India had to face similar fate just like Pakistan. Clear everyone? So before criticizing the Jawaharlal Nehru, we need to understand the situation also, जो आज ज़्यादातर लोग कर रहे हैं, है ना? Clear? लोग कर रहे हैं, करने दो, तुम लोगों को नहीं करना है, तुम लोगों को समझना है, because you are preparing for bureaucracy. Clear? So remember this thing, that was the main reason. Similar kind of thing happened in Bangladesh also. Bangladesh was also born because of language. Clear? Again in the hatred against the West Pakistan. And the moment Bangladesh was created, so Mujibur Rahman, he died in 1975. He was assassinated, but their constitution came in 1977. So Mujibur Rahman, after Mujibur Rahman, Bangladesh came under the military. His brother Sheikh Ziaur Rahman. This part is clear to all of you. So Bangladesh, which was born as a secular nation in 1971, it became Islamic Republic in 1977. Clear? Since then, Bangladesh also came under the military rule. This much is clear to all of you. That was the main reason. Because Pakistan, then Bangladesh, all these nations came in the background of hatred. That is why these kind of states are called as failed state. Clear? So there are two types of nation. One is political, another is cultural. Write down. Nations can be divided